Jake Paul, Anderson Silva is now the time. Hard to say. It's really hard to say. I mean, you guys are the ones that are going to decide. Jake appears to be open to the idea. Anderson appears to be open to the idea. Now, Anderson appears to be open to any idea. I haven't heard him say no yet. I've heard Anderson say Jake's name. It wasn't heavy. It wasn't strong. I heard Anderson say Floyd Mayweather's name. It wasn't heavy. It wasn't strong. I do not know who Anderson fought over the weekend, and I happen to watch it. And I'm not trying to be a dick at all. What I'm sharing for you is I don't think Anderson cares. I think that Anderson is really enjoying himself. I think he really does want to compete. And he's one of these guys that blows in the wind, wherever you want to go. Been a main eventer in sold-out arenas. He hasn't been a main event for a period of time. I mean, at least his last two fights. I think the Chavez fight was a main event. Am I right about that? But of all the things Anderson's done in boxing, the Chavez fight, the only one I didn't see, is the most impressive to me. To go into Mexico City in the dirtiest, most corrupt sport in the world, which is boxing, and get a win over the hometown guy. I mean, Anderson must have really beaten Chavez. That was a very meaningful match. Tito took a dive. Tito was wide awake and pretended to be asleep. That's just what happened. And over the weekend, the guy did the same thing. That's not Anderson's fault. Guys were doing that in the UFC with Anderson. Guys were wide awake, and they were just scared of him. And they were just pretending that they were out or they were choked out or whatever it was. Like, that's not a bad deal, and I'm not giving Anderson a hard time. I kind of get frustrated when I talk about Anderson and I hear comments of Chael hasn't let it go. Sure I have. Everything I just said is very objective. Everything I just said is very right. I'm not looking to give him a hard time. But it's very important that you do understand the approach historically of Anderson. Did you guys know Anderson was boxing over the weekend? Did you know how to find it? Are you any better than me at being able to say who the opponent was? All of those are a no. No to all three of those. It's relevant because while Jake is open to the idea, and nothing has done a better job than Dana White making a comment that Jake would not fight Anderson because Anderson would kick his ass. Like, there's nothing that has made that fight more interesting, but Jake is open to it. Jake has tweeted about it. And it always puts Jake in a very tough spot. Jake was having a back and forth with Bisping a few weeks ago, and people were talking about the age of Bisping, of which Anderson's older, and he lost. I mean, it's one of those things where if Jake can just never win, what's the point of trying? The other side of the coin, if we can work through this, because we all agree with Dana that Anderson can go out and beat, that there would be an interest, but Jake is looking for something. And nobody appears to want to take the time to see what that is, and then go out and fulfill that requirement. And I do mean nobody. Nobody is on the proper push to get that opportunity. And Anderson's not going to be any different. Jake's going to have to look at that. It's very relevant. Jake has only had opponents. That's it. And he's done great business. And he's gone way further than anybody else thought that he could go, having opponents. Jake now needs and is looking for a partner. So that's where the Anderson gets tough. That's where I'm light on the idea. Is Jake going to be able to come to a press conference and get a little something going? Is Jake going to go to social media where he is a star and leverage that like he's done at everything else in his career with Anderson, who's not going to do anything? It's an interesting spot. That would be a mega fight. It really would. I mean, that would at least be, let me reword that. That would be a main event fight. Anderson didn't care that he was jerking the curtain over the weekend or that in his last fight he also wasn't the main event. It's one of those things. He's not willing to fight for those positions. He's very satisfied with the ability to go out there and compete and the focus and emphasis on the training. I don't begrudge him for that. But it's a reality, and that's not what's going to be useful or helpful for what Jake Paul is currently trying to do. Jake's doing his part. He's showing an interest. He went and photoshopped and he was put out like a spider extermination or what on Twitter, but it worked. It was something. He's opening the door. But Anderson's got to kick it in. And if Anderson doesn't kick it in, Jake's going to just wait for the next guy, and that guy's going to have to kick it in. But watching guys pretend that they want to fight Jake, but not studying Jake, studying what's going on, seeing what it is that's going to get his interest, and then go and making themselves fit that mold, it's one of those things. It's hard to respect it. So is it enough? The resume and the notoriety of Anderson, is it enough for no help and no promotion? Now, the other side of it, Jake's done a number of these things by himself. Not what he's looking to do right now. Now he would like a little help, but he's done a number of them by himself. This not only takes the partner away, if you go the Anderson route, it takes what Jake does away. How is Jake going to come at you? How is Jake going to do the funny stuff? How is Jake going to do the ridiculous stuff? If the guy just sits there and talks about, I don't care, I just want to box and I just want to train. The fight could happen. If I had a magic wand to wave over, it's the fight that I would make. If I had to give you a prediction based on back and forth and build up to a contest, which is what Jake is looking for, and he's looking solo, he's looking by himself. He sees a value in that solely alone. I'm going to predict for you, no, that fight does not get signed.